y'all, it's Miss Lauren again, and today I have a video talking about constructive and deconstructive forces as they apply to volcanoes. The Earth's layers are composed of three different layers: the core, the mantle, and the crust. Some characteristics about the crust. It is the top layer where everybody lives. Some parts of the crust are covered by continents and some are covered by the ocean. The crust is not all one piece. It is divided up into smaller sections that are huge slabs of rock called the tectonic plates. These plates can rub up against each other to create volcanic eruptions and earthquakes. The crust is about 20 miles thick. Next we have the mantle, and the mantle is the layer under the crust and above the core, so it's right in the middle. This is a very thick layer and it's about 180 miles thick. This layer is composed of very heavy rock that is often so hot that it's melted and called molten iron or melted iron. The core is composed of two separate sections, the inner core and the outer core. The outer core is the layer above the inner core, and this molten rock flows similarly to melted plastic. Next we have the core. The outer core is extremely hot and mostly composed of magma, which is molten iron. Lava is magma that flows outside of the volcano. The outer core is about 1,300 miles thick. The inner core is comprised of a solid ball of iron and is more than 750 miles thick. So constructive versus deconstructive forces. A constructive force is something that causes the Earth's surface to build up or rise. So in our first video we talked about deposition. And deposition is an example of something that is a constructive force. Some other constructive forces are volcanoes, earthquakes, and faults. A deconstructive force is the exact opposite of a constructive force, and it is something that can cause the Earth's surface to break down or wear away. So like in the first video, we talked about weathering and erosion, and these are two examples of a deconstructive force. So just a few facts about volcanoes. A volcano is formed when there is a crack or a hole in the crust, which is called a vent. When extremely high pressure builds up from inside the volcano, which goes all the way to the core, causes an eruption. A volcano is similar to a mountain in that it has a crater to hold lava and magma and ash. Hot lava can be over 1,000 degrees. Most volcanoes are actually underwater, however, Indonesia has the most land volcanoes. Hawaii has the largest land volcano. Okay, so I'm sure you're wondering, is a volcano a constructive or a deconstructive force? And the answer is actually both. A volcano can destroy everything around it in an eruption due to the hot lava, but when the lava cools, it can form new things like mountains. Lava contains many nutrients that will fertilize the soil to make it an ideal place to grow crops. So like in the second video, we talked about making an ecosystem, and this cooled lava can make new life and it can make a new ecosystem. So today we get to do two different experiments. Okay, so for experiment number one, we're going to make our own volcanic eruption. So what you will need a large container to catch any overflow, or if you decide to do it outside, then you don't need one of these. But I'm going to do it inside. You will need, I'm going to use a beaker, but a water bottle works just fine. You'll need food coloring, any color, doesn't matter. Baking soda, some measuring tools, just some regular dish soap, any kind works. You'll need vinegar, and then safety goggles, because we don't want any baking soda or vinegar or anything to get into your eyes and hurt them. Okay, so now that we have our safety goggles on, we're going to take a teaspoon and we're just going to measure out some baking soda. You're just going to dump your baking soda into your beaker or water bottle. You're going to use about 2.5 teaspoons to 3 teaspoons, whichever you feel like. Okay. After you dump in your baking soda, it will look just kind of like this. And then you're going to take a squirt of dish soap and just do one squirt. And then you're going to take your food coloring, and you can use whatever color you want. I think I'm going to use green. And do a couple drops of that. And then you're just going to kind of mix it up together just for a second. And now you're going to grab a measuring cup and dump a little bit of vinegar in here. And you might want to get your parents' help just so that you don't make a mess. And then you'll just dump this in here. And it creates a mini volcano. And it'll just go for a few seconds. So you can kind of, I'm sure you've seen this before, and so you kind of already knew what it was going to look like. So this is a chemical change, and y'all learned about these, I'm pretty sure, earlier in the year. But what happens is the baking soda reacts with vinegar to create a chemical reaction, and that will make the bubbles form. And you know that it's a chemical reaction because you can feel the temperature changes, and the formation of bubbles is also an indication of a chemical change. Okay, so this is experiment number 2 that we're going to do, and it's called elephant's toothpaste. What you'll need, again, you'll need a large container. You'll need another beaker, but a water bottle works just fine. You will need your safety goggles again, dish soap, hydrogen peroxide, a measuring cup, well, 2 measuring cups, dry yeast, and food coloring. Okay, so now we're going to do elephant's toothpaste. You're going to take a half of a cup, measuring cup, and fill it up with peroxide. You're going to pour this carefully into your beaker, and make sure you have on your safety goggles because we don't want any of these chemicals to get into your eyes. Okay, and now you're going to do a large squirt of dish soap, and you're going to take some food coloring. I think this time I'll do red. Do a few drops of that, and if you want to put some on the side, that will make it look cool also. And now you're going to want to take 1 teaspoon of dry yeast, dissolved into 2 tablespoons of hot water. So you might want to get a parent's help with the hot water. Okay, so now you're just going to mix your dry yeast and your hot water for about 30 seconds. And so now you're going to pour your dry yeast water solution into your solution and mix it up a little bit, and watch as it comes up through the beaker and it will produce a foam similar to the volcano, but this one's a little bit more foamy. In this experiment, our yeast serves as a catalyst, which in a reaction, a catalyst is something that just speeds up the process of a reaction. This makes the peroxide molecule release an oxygen atom faster. This is obviously a chemical reaction because you can tell that there are bubbles that formed. And if you touch it there, it is a little bit warmer, so there's a temperature change as well. I hope that you guys can do these experiments at home, and if you have any questions, please leave me a comment, and I will upload the video for y'all to watch. And if you do the experiment, take pictures and post it in the comment section. And I hope you all are having a great week, and I miss you very much.